Welcome to 5 and 5 from the One-Stop Co-op Shop, where we discuss 5 key elements of a game in about 5 minutes. I'm Michael Kelly, and today I'm reviewing Hostage Negotiator from Van Ryder Games. Quick disclaimer that while I already owned the base game, we were sent some of the expansions. And also, I have a history with the company. Van Ryder Games published our first design, Salvation Road. I absolutely adored Final Girl earlier this year, which uses the same basic system as Hostage Negotiator. So do I like this one as much? Let's find out and get to the list. I'm going to start out with a mix at number 5, and that's how expandable the game is, but also how much you'll want to expand it to really get your full value. On the negative side, if you just buy the core box of Hostage Negotiator, which to be fair is not very expensive, you're only going to get 3 abductors, and not really the most interesting ones. So if you just stop there, it's not really an exciting game for you to play. But if you go beyond the base game, oh man, is there amazing stuff here. They have all these really cheap abductor packs that add more abductors you can play against, Crime Wave, which offers a lot of alternatives in how you play and also gives you 3 abductors, and then Career I'll get into more later, but it's ridiculous. So if you're ready to pay the money to get most of the game or even everything, and let's face it, everything is still less expensive than most big miniature games you might get, then you will not be disappointed. There is a ton of variety here. For my number 4, which is a pro, I'm going to focus on one specific mechanic in the game, and that's the demand cards. So each abductor will start with 1 or more demand cards, some keyed specifically to them, some generic ones for escaping or just getting a beer or some pizza. Mechanically, you want to reveal all of them because if you don't, you sometimes suffer, but you sometimes get bonuses for not revealing them, but it costs resources to reveal them, so that's a lot of fun. But then the demand cards themselves are so cool because you'll have to concede them, often by paying something, but then you'll get some kind of reward, but then it might have some lesser effect that happens round after round, and the variety here is great. So I just love this mechanic, I love how they work, and I love how they make each abductor feel unique, and also give you really tough give and take choices as you play. Speaking of the abductors, my number 3 is another pro, and that's how the abductors and the threat cards amp up the tension of the game while also adding variety. So after you've finished your turn playing cards and spending points, you draw the top card of the threat deck. And just like the demands, these are super varied. Some of them actually help you, but many of them will make the threat track increase, making it tougher to succeed at your actions. They might release hostages, they might kill hostages, but it's also the timer and countdown for the game. Those cards are slowly running out, and it just amps up and ratchets the tension because you need to save those hostages and capture that abductor before you run out of cards completely. And in a great little touch, the final card is a pivotal event. Could be super helpful, could be super harmful, so it can be swingy, but it's always exciting. But on the topic of swinginess, that takes us right into number 2, which is a mix for me, but could be a huge con for some people, and that's how random the game can be. So I already mentioned the randomness / variety of which threat cards come out, which demands come out, but I haven't even gotten into that when you play cards on your turn during the negotiation phase, you roll generally between 1 to 3 dice, and they only have a 1/3 chance for each of those dice of giving you a straight up success. So you could do these huge important actions and roll just total crud for your dice and have everything fall apart just because of how the dice came out. Now that might sound straight up horrible to a lot of you, but let me tell you why it rises to a mix for me. There are a lot of mitigation options here. There are cards that let you roll more dice, there are cards that re-roll dice, and a big thing is each die on the 4 side lets you discard 2 other cards to change it to a success. So if you plan your turns out right and have cards waiting, then you really raise your chances way above what they would be normally. But I'm going to end with a full-on pro, the part of the game I haven't gotten into much, and that's the negotiator cards, playing them, planning combos, spending to buy new cards. Now honestly, when you look at these cards, they're really a culmination of all the things I've already talked about, because the demands give you options with them, and of course which threat cards come out will kind of dictate what you should be playing. And of course the dice luck is huge, as I already said, you have to look at what the risk reward is for each card you play. But I also love that instead of playing cards for their effect, you can always discard them for 1 conversation point to buy bigger cards. And buying cards is a ton of fun too, because you can really try to save up and get these huge combo turns. Watch my playthrough to see a couple of those. It went great. And depending on which abductor you're playing against and which cards come out, sometimes you're going to want to lower the threat level all the way. Sometimes you're going to want to get a sniper in just to cancel out all their special abilities and deal with their second in command. So there's a lot of variety in how the game plays out, and also a lot of combo-liciousness and clever plays and tactics that I really, really enjoy. So it's funny, when I first thought about covering Hostage Negotiator, I didn't think it would end up that positive because I had just recently played Final Girl and that blew me away, and I hadn't played Hostage Negotiator in years, so I was like, oh, this is a much better version of that. And that still might be true. I think Final Girl compared to Hostage Negotiator on a one-to-one, like one-off basis, Final Girl might win. But when you add in career and all the other stuff they have, we'll get to that in a second for our little addendum, I think Hostage Negotiator really rises to be something special. It's so quick, has such fun mechanics, has amazing variety if you buy into everything. As long as you can get over that buy-in and that big random element, this game is stellar for solo play. I fully recommend it. Now, with all that said, let's take a moment to dive into the newest expansion, Career. So instead of having one-off games, you play through a full police officer career for 10 years, and I just finished my first one today, and this game is amazing. This really elevates the entire thing. And one of the biggest things, one of my main recommendations for Career is that if you hate the randomness in Hostage Negotiator, it kind of fixes it. And what I mean is, yes, the dice can still destroy you, and now you have other cards you're drawing in Career and random elements from there that can really mess with you. But here's the thing, if you lose a game of Hostage Negotiator, it's not all or nothing. Some of the things you did there, how many hostages you saved, will have an influence on your career later. So it kind of reminds me of something like Arkham Horror LCG, where the mistakes and the successes kind of go forward in this ongoing campaign, and just about nothing is going to end things completely. You'll always get to tell this great cinematic story. And man, is Career cinematic. You have these stressors, you can get rewards, you can have totally different abductors you face, you can have totally different endings. I only saw one of them, I want to see the other ones. Like, it just blows my mind how ambitious and unique and amazing this design is. Now, I will say, if you hate base Hostage Negotiator, still most of your time playing through the Career will be spent playing regular Hostage Negotiator. The other stuff is kind of like the trappings and the cohesive glue between those individual games. So if you hate Hostage Negotiator, this isn't going to fix that. But if you like it even a little bit, and maybe the randomness bothers you, Career just brings it to a whole new level. I don't know if I'll ever play the base game without it. I adore it. It's just genius, and I really want to say well done to the designers. If you want to see me play through the first year of my career with very minimal spoilers, click the video that just popped up. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.